to the Moat House. I'm Roger. This is my recording studio / man cave. We just recorded a record earlier this year. It's called See the Light, and it was recorded in this room. It was conceived here, you know. Like a lot of other kids, when I was 16, I had a 4-track, and I stared at it for 10 hours a day, and I've always loved art of recording. When we were doing, I think, Hello Rock View, like I got my first Mackie, you know, and slowly started building the studio for a really long time. So about the time we were doing GNVFLA, I was, highly involved with the recording on that. So then after that, we started doing a couple EPs with the TV EP, and we recorded those here at the Moat House, and the Season's Greetings EPs, and the Greetings and Salutations record that eventually became. So that was all recorded here at the Moat House, and I turned all the knobs and tuned all the guitars and figured out all the sounds and worked on all that music with the dudes in my band. And it's a crazy thing to have that luxury to just be like, oh, well, we have a month to make this record, so here we are.
We've kind of come full circle as a band. We started out doing our own thing, and then we worked with a number of people over the years, and we've kind of come full circle now. The past probably 6 or 7 years, we've produced our own records. They've been self-produced, and it's just as big of a challenge this way as it is with working with somebody, in my opinion.
This record, we decided, to take that organicness and apply it to how we did things in the studio, and that was refreshing. It's whether I was just playing to a click by myself, which happened with no one else, to no click at all, and me, Raj, and Chris just playing together in his house.
I really like having the song figured out and knowing the tempos and knowing what arrangement's going to be, and like kicking out that drum part and having the foundation like laid on there. It's so final. Like once the drums are done, that makes it all worth it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay that there's a couple of pieces of feeling that are in there that maybe something's hit too hard or something's hit a little too late, but that kind of stuff is important.
Something happened, if there was if I didn't stick something correctly, that was cool, man, and if, I added that hit in there, and sometimes those were the happy accidents that made it interesting and kind of different than what we've done before.
A lot of times stuff is ad-libbed, and it's just kind of off the cuff, and those types of things are that spontaneity is what makes recordings cool and interesting. So it's a little nerve-wracking, but I like the challenge.
And then sometimes the notes that you think are wrong or right, it's subjective.
I think that's a cool thing, actually, is like to kind of like have a bit of frantic energy in the studio to make it have like what it feels like live, when you've had a couple beers and you're excited. That's what it should sound like on the record.
After 21 years, I think that we are allowed to have that freedom to do.
That's kind of the stuff for me that's a little bit trickier about being in the studio versus being on the road. Because once you're on the road, the part is the part, and then you either know or you don't, or you flub it or you don't.
You'll have a song that maybe is 95% there, but you'll be in the studio and it's like the last day, and you got to record that last vocal, and you're like, okay, well, what's the lyric here? And we'll still be scrambling to write the lyric and figure it out, and you got to step in front of the mic.
Right, left, stop, wait.
When you're under the microscope of the microphone, I like to call it, you're in there, you're all alone in the room usually, or someone's sitting on the other side of the room, which is even more uncomfortable, and everyone else is in the control room listening to you intently. And so every little note that you play and every nuance you play is under the microscope. You're on the slide, you're like a little bacteria getting inspected.
Sometimes to tap dance on your feet, you got to tap dance on your feet, and you got to play notes that maybe you don't think are right, and sometimes you got to play them because everybody else has to hear them to know that they're not right.
In the studio, you go in there to strive to be your best, to sound your best,
because then you only get better if you push yourself. So we try to keep doing that.
For me, before we go to record, I like to sing. If we haven't been on the road or something, I like to sing for at least a couple days or a week to, kind of have my voice up to snuff before I step in front of the mic.
I count on one hand what matters to me most. Only time can subtract them, I suppose. But I'm trying not to let it go. Still the numbers drop, it's just not adding up.
As for recording my vocals or editing my vocals, I can't do it. I have a terrible thing of hearing every little nuance and crack in my voice, and I'm one of those self-hating singers. So I typically go in there and I'll do 3 or 4 or 5 takes, and then I tell the guys, hey, you put my vocal together, or pick what parts you think are good, because I have a hard time with it.
And who's to say, if I keep on crossing the line, that I won't sleep at all tonight and all?
There's times when they'll be like, do it again, do it again, do it again, and you'll be like the 8th time trying to sing this thing, and you're just like, physically, mentally, I can't sing it any differently, and you're kind of banging your head against the wall, and at that point, someone will have either a suggestion of try it this way, and you try it a little differently, and then everyone's arms will go up, and they're excited, or it'll be like, okay, go back to your old way, it's fine, and we'll move on. So,
Have you ever gotten asked on tour who the girl is that we got to sing all the high harmonies for the record?
Yep, the girl that sang all the high harmonies on the record is me. Don't think it's Roger, because it isn't. Because he'll say, oh, I can't sing that, JR, get in here. And I'll say, I can't sing that either. And then I'll try, and then he pinches my balls.
But then once we get into the studio, it's still not set in stone.
Playing and recording horns is definitely an experience all into itself.
So there's different nuances once it actually gets recorded for real. So you go in there and play with that, and that's tricky enough trying to just fit it into what the new tempo is, or like how the feel of the song has changed.
It's a lot of at the moment ideas, and it all happens as you're going. So you got to kind of be patient.
There's a lot of decisions to make at some point.
Ultimately, somebody has to wear that hat. Somebody has to be the guy that makes those decisions, and personally, I wouldn't want to be that guy. There is a lot of tough times in the studio when you got a guy that is your bass player and one of your vocalists, and he's wearing that hat and he's being that guy, but then conversely, he's also being the producer. And it does get tense. It does get very opinionated, and it is tough.
It's a lot of knobs, a lot of little tiny decisions. It's a lot of being very meticulous with tuning and timing and selection and word choice and enunciation and all these tiny things to get every track to be, as much as it can be.
Best friends that have come and gone, they left me.
I don't think there's anybody else in the band that could do it or would want to do it. So hats off to him for that. It's a lot of undertaking, and a lot of it's behind the scenes. When we leave the studio, it's the multiple hours of editing and compiling of tracks that he's doing. That's the tough part that I definitely wouldn't want to deal with. So hats off to Raj for producing.
It's definitely a lot of different kind of hats going on, for sure. And it's definitely fun. I'm not complaining. I kind of like being the control freak.
Give me something to believe in. I'm waiting on a reason not to keep on floating around.
Then it's all done, and then it's been a month, and it's been mixed, and it sounds rad. Then we go play a couple shows, and we fly in somewhere, and there's a rented bass amp I've never seen, and turn it up, turn a couple knobs around, and sounds great. Let's rock.
I think that this time around with See the Light, it's the final combination where it's the balance of this sort of buoyant music and super catchy, and with this slightly heavier topics, but with a very positive message that goes along with it.
To decide.
So I really don't recommend anybody doing any dental work before they go to sing. I recently had to do this first time in our 21-year career as a band that I've had to do that. I had a toothache so bad that my eyes were constantly watering, and I felt like someone was jamming an ice pick in my ear. So lo and behold, I went to the dentist to get this checked out, and make a long story short, they gave me a Novocaine block, which still, after 3 weeks later, my tongue is still numb. It hit the lingual nerve, and trying to sing with that was a little bit of a challenge. So if you hear a slight lisp or speech impediment on this record, don't hold it against me.
That's all I got to say. That's all I can say on that one.
From the store.